The Border Service of the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation is a branch of Federal Security Service of Russia tasked with patrol of the Russian border. The terms Border Service of Russia and Border Force of Russia are also common, while in English, the terms Border Guards and Border Troops are frequently used to designate this service. The Border Service includes the Russian Maritime Border Guard units. History: Imperial Russia border guards were created in the Russian Empire in the 18th century. However, the origin of the Russian border service can be traced to Prince Mikhail Vorotinsky and his Greater Batus border in the 16th century. In 1782, Catherine II of Russia created border customs guards originally manned by Russian Cossacks as well as low-ranking cavalry troops. General Mikhail Barclay de Tolly organized in 1810 numerous border posts, consisted of 11 regiments of Don and Bug Cossacks along all western Russian border. Within 2 years, Russian border guards were first to fight the Napoleon's invasion of Russia. In 1832, Cossacks and cavalry were replaced by armed customs officials subordinate to the Ministry of Finance in peacetime. In the same year, the Coast Guard was created, originally to observe Black Sea and Azov Sea coasts. In 1893, Count Sergei Wid, Russian Minister of Finance in the Alexander III's government, reformed the service on October 13 that year into the Independent Border Guards Corps, a paramilitary rather than civilian organization headed by an army general and reporting directly to the ministry. In 1906, about 40,000 soldiers and officers served in the IBGC responsible for the defense of the vast imperial border. They served in 8 division-sized districts as well as in the St. Petersburg headquarters unit. Soviet period Soviet border troops were the militarized border guard of the Soviet Union, subordinated to its subsequently reorganized state security agency, first to Cheka OGPU, then to NKVD, MGB and, finally, to KGB. Accordingly, they were known as NKVD border troops and KGB border troops. Unlike border guards of many other countries, Soviet border troops were a centralized force including also the maritime border guard units. Modern period following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Federal Border Guard Service of Russia was created on December 30, 1993, and given a status of separate government agency. This organization retained some old traditions, most notably the dark green-colored uniform and Border Guarders' Day. First Minister of FBS was Andrei Nikolaev, young and outspoken general who later became deputy of the State Duma. Russian border guards were also stationed outside of Russia, most notably in southern Tajikistan, in order to guard the border with Afghanistan, until summer 2005. On Afghan-Tajik border on many occasions they were engaged in heavy fighting with drug traffickers and Islamic extremists. Armenia's closed border with Turkey and open border with Iran is also still guarded by the Russians. On March 11, 2003, Russian President Vladimir Putin changed the status of Border Guard Service from a separate agency into a branch of Russian Federal Security Service. The current head of Border Guard Service of Russia is General Vladimir Pranichev. Border Guard Service of Russia is still tasked with the defense of the longest national border in the world. In April 2012, Vladimir Pranichev announced that the country was planning to build 20 frontier posts in the Arctic region. Reasons for this development can be found in the increased abilities to explore hydrocarbon deposits in the north. It will also give Russia an ability to patrol and service the Northern Sea route. In July 2014, Ukraine opened a criminal case against the head of the Border Guard Service, Vladimir Kuleshov. He was accused of financing illegal military groups in eastern Ukraine who at the time fought against the Ukrainian army. Mission Responsibilities of Border Guard Service of Russia include defense of the Russian national border, prevention of illegal crossing of the land and sea border by people and goods, protection of economic interests of the Russian Federation and its natural resources within land and sea border areas, territorial waters and internal seas, including prevention of poaching and illegal fishing, combat any threats to national security in the border area, including terrorism and foreign infiltration. Organization. Command: the head of the Border Service, Army General Vladimir Kuleshov. First Deputy Head of the Border Service, Lieutenant General Vladimir Rozhko. First Deputy Head of the Border Service, the Head of the Organizational Department, Colonel General Mansur Masgutovich Valiev. Deputy Head of Russia's FSB Border Service, the Chief International Treaty Management, Lieutenant General Alexander L. Manilov. Deputy Chief of the Border Service, Lieutenant General Viktor Trofimovich Trufanov. Deputy Chief of the Border Service, Maj. Gen. Alexander O. Mizon. Deputy Chief of the Border Service, Maj. Gen. Nikolai Nikolaevich Ryborkin. Deputy Chief of the Border Service, Lieutenant General Gennady Semenovich Samuhin. Old FPS structure. FPS Russia, the Federal Border Service, active from the 30th of December 1994 to the 30th of June 2003, was headed by a single centralized system, which included border control, Foreign Intelligence Corps, operational entities engaged in intelligence counter-operational investigative activities to ensure its own security system, border guards and other organs of the border service provided by federal law. FPS Russia border troops, military educational institutions, vocational education, companies, institutions, and organizations in Russia under the FPS, according to federal law. Lineup. Changes in the regional structure of the border service. Instead of 10 regional border for the new scheme includes regional officers of the border and 30 border officers. Includes the Maritime Border Guard. Regional Border Districts, Regional Border Directorate of the Central Federal District, Regional Border Management for the Southern Federal District, Regional Border Directorate of the Ural Federal District, Regional Border Directorate of the Volga Federal District, Regional Border Directorate for the Siberian Federal District, Northwest Regional Border Management, Arctic Regional Border Management on Regional Border Directorate for the Far Eastern Federal District, the Military Educational Institutions, Vocational Education, as adopted by Presidential Decree 457, dated April 23, 2001, Border Academy of Russia's FSB, Military Medical Institute, the Border Service of Russia's FSB in the Nizhny Novgorod State Medical Academy, Galitsynski Military Institute of the Border Service, Kaliningrad Military Institute of the Border Service, Kurgan Military Institute of the Border Service, Moscow Military Institute of the Border Service, Khabarovsk Military Institute, the Border Service, the 1st Cadet Corps of the Border Service. Enterprises, institutions and organizations which are subordinate to the Border Service, medical and health institutions, repair plant, parts logistics, technical, and other support. Russian Coast Guard. Timeline. The Border and Internal Troops VCHKOGPU NKVD USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs. The 29th of September 1918 the headquarters of the Hull Forces VCHK. The 1st of April 1921 the Office of Troops VCHK-OGPU. The 1st of December 1922 the headquarters of the Troops OGPU. The 3rd of October 1923 Inspect CU Troops GPU OGPU. The 6th of November 1926 the Directorate of Border Guard Troops and OGPU. The 10th of July 1934 General Directorate of Border and Internal Security Soviet NKVD. The 29th of September 1938 General Directorate of Border and Interior Troops Soviet NKVD. From 1938 to 1957, the Directorate of Border Troops, the Directorate of Troops for the Protection of Railway Facilities, the Directorate of Troops for the Protection of Critical Business Industry, the Directorate Escort Troops, General Directorate of Military Supplies, the Main Military Construction Management. The 9th of June 1956 GUPVV USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs. The 2nd of April 1957 GUPVV USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs was disbanded in connection with the transfer of border troops of the Ministry of Internal Affairs to the Soviet KGB when the Soviet Union made the border troops. The 28th of May 1918 Border Guard when Narcomate Finance. The 24th of November 1920 features in the GSVCHKGPU, then to the CGBGPU and the headquarters of the Frontier Corps Headquarters Troops OGPU. The 28th of July 1923 Department of Border Guard GPU OGPU. The 6th of November 1926 the Directorate of Border Guard Troops and OGPU. The 10th of July 1934 Soviet NKVD GUPVO. The 29th of September 1938 Soviet NKVD GUPVV. The 8th of March 1939 Soviet NKVD GUPV. The 17th of October 1949 GUPVMGB-USSR. The 14th of March 1953 GUPV-USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs. The 9th of June 1956 based GUPV, GUVKO and MAT-USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs was organized by the USSR Ministry of Internal Affairs GUPVV. The 2nd of April 1957 GUPV-KGB when the Soviet Union made the 5th of July 1978 GUPV-KGB. In December 1991, after the reorganization of KGB, the General Directorate of Border Troops were abolished and formed the Committee for the Protection of the State Border of the Soviet Union with the Joint Command of the Border Forces led by was assigned to the post of Chairman of the Committee, Chief of Soviet Border Troops. In 1992 Border Troops of the Russian Federation, which have been subordinated to the Ministry of Security. In 1993 Federal Border Service General Command of Border Troops of Russian Federation with the status of federal ministries. In 1994 renamed the Federal Border Service. The 4th of May 2002 FPS Russia renamed the Border Service of the Russian Federation, which consists of specially authorized federal executive body for the border service, troops and other organizations. The 11th of March 2003 Vladimir Putin abolished the function of FPS conveyed to the FSB. FPS Russia renamed PS Russia's FSB. Equipment: aircraft Antonov An-26, Ilyushin Il-76, Techno-Avia SM-92 Finist, helicopter Mi-8